It may not seem like it to the casual observer, but if you look behind me, as most of you tend to do, well, at least some of you, there's lots of comments about the awesome Animal Crossing gameplay that exists in these videos. But every video thus far that has featured Animal Crossing has been disaster. Because my wife, for 3 months now,
I don't even know.
ish, has been trying to get blue roses, and they will not spot. Apparently, it's super rare. My son and I are of the opinion that it does not exist at all in the game, and she's just being trolled by Nintendo. But, you know, as Mac Miller would say, so it goes. And I think that's where I'll start with additional thoughts on swimming. This week at work has been a pain in the ass. It's been rough. I knew the summer was going to be busy, but it's been very busy, and it's too much work with not enough people, and you know they want things done way before this. You know it's realistic in terms of schedule and all this other stuff. And all this week I've just been going da 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 da. So it goes, and it's really helped. You know, honestly, it really has helped. I think. That being a line from not my all-time favorite book, but one of my all-time favorite books of Slaughterhouse-5 has helped. And it's been cool in the sense of hearing a line that I've always loved as a song. And he captures it so well in that track. And So It Goes is a fantastic track. I guess I'll talk about tracks real quick too. 2009, I want to push back on my own opinion about what I said on it during the initial reaction, because after doing the reaction and posting it up, I go through and read comments, of course, and a lot of people said, man, you know, it's crazy you had this interpretation of it, and it feels like even on some of the comments I read, I kind of convinced other people like, no, this is more of like a, what did I call it, a suicide note than something else. But a lot of people talked about how they felt that song was a positive song, like a hopeful song. And I agree. Having that perspective in mind and listening to it again, there's some lines in there that are very specific about, no, we're going to keep trying, going to keep going, you know, stuff like that. And I agree. I think 2009 is a hopeful song. And it was cool hearing the perspective of that from you guys, of how it is hopeful and you know, positive. And listening to it again and hearing some of the lines again, like, you know, it's not 2009 anymore. I know what's behind that door, where I took that as kind of foreboding. No, I agree. It does sound positive anyway. It's too bad that everything that happened shortly after did happen. But, you know, I think really that's probably just Mac wrestling with that, you know. And it is tough too. I think I said this during the reaction that I had watched a video before listening to the album about how he died. And it's just one of those weird things where, okay, well, what if drugs were legal and he could have just got what he actually wanted? Would he still be here? You know, would he still be hooked on drugs? Would it have not mattered? I don't know. It's a weird thing to think about. But 2009, I think my initial take on it was not accurate. I think it was I was way too far into my idea of, okay, it's him wrestling with drugs. He can't get out of it. He's not swimming anymore. He's drowning, because there's a couple of lines with that. And I think that theme still exists in the album, obviously. But I just want to push back on my opinion, my initial opinion in 2009 initially. And it's just cool because I see a lot of comments from people about how you guys can pick up different perspectives listening to what I'm saying, but I also get to pick up different perspectives from you. And that was a good example of that. In terms of favorite track, I don't know. I love Wings. Obviously, I loved it right away. I think Ladders is my favorite track. When those horns hit on that beat, it's so good. It's so good, man. It's so good. And then Once the Use is fantastic as well. 2009, Jet Fuel, So It Goes. Man, I've just had that song in my head for this whole week so far. So lots of great songs on this album. This is a great album. Kind of going back to the track So It Goes and having that in my head and having it help me just through my work week. It was kind of neat to have that because I read so many positive things about Kid Cudi when I did Man on the Moon, and how so many people were talking about how Kid Cudi saved my life and he really helped me with these things and blah, blah, blah. And while I love Man on the Moon, I think it's a fantastic album, I didn't have that connection to it. And I just think, where I heard it in my life, that's why. If you're younger and you hear that album and you're at a certain point in your life or you're dealing with certain things, that album's really, really going to hit with you and help you, which is great. It just happens that where I am in my life, some of the things he's talking about, I'm not experiencing firsthand, and so I don't get that connection. And not to say that I'm having that kind of connection with swimming, because swimming is its own thing, but it was cool to kind of have that with So It Goes, to have this song and just let it roll around in my head and help, because it gave me just a taste of what some of you guys talk about when you say how important Mac Miller was to you, how much you love his music, how much it helped you, so on. What else do I got? I watched the Tiny Desk performance, and that was cool, but it was kind of hard. I mean, aside from him passing not too long after that, I could really tell, and I did a recording, it's on Patreon. I try not to do the videos for YouTube anymore just because of the copyright bullshit. It's a pain in the ass. You can tell he's nervous. He's nervous. And I don't say that to criticize him or anything like that, but I found that very interesting given some of the things he said in this album in terms of, what was that one line? Oh, I can't remember. I cannot remember. But basically talking about he kind of wishes he should have been, could have been a basketball player instead or something like that. Like you can tell well, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to just assume a bunch of stuff about Mac Miller, but the impression I get is, yeah, he likes just kind of being to himself a bit, or maybe with just a couple close friends like Thundercat or somebody like that. Like that kind of intimate setting was difficult for him. And it was interesting to see that difficulty in him, that uncomfortableness in him, and reference that to some of the things he said in this album in terms of, how he likes kicking it alone in his crib and being by himself and he's doing his thing. He doesn't, I can't remember all the lyrics right now off the top of my head, unfortunately, which is strange. This is something I've been experiencing on like a week-to-week basis. I have this really intense experience with my first listen. I'm all up in the lyrics and all this other stuff, and then I zoom out and just have my casual listens for the rest of the week. And sometimes I can't remember the names of the tracks. It's almost like I'm trying too hard or something. I don't really know what the deal is. I mean, with this one, there's the track names I remember, but some albums I'm like, oh yeah, what's that one song? Anyway, right now I'm experiencing that with some of the lyrics. But one of the themes in the album is, how he's just kind of uncomfortable and he's all these thoughts in his head. That's another obviously major theme. But it was just interesting to see him in public like that. And again, I'm not trying to criticize the guy. I wouldn't be able to do anything like that, like in terms of performing. I wouldn't be able to handle that either. That would be very difficult. Very, I almost want to say awkward. I wouldn't do it very well. We'll leave it at that. It's easy being here, right? In my house with my family. And what else do I have? Oh, okay. So watching the tributes. I watched the John Mayer tribute of him doing Small World. That was really good. The harder one, though, was the second NPR Tiny Desk where they were doing the tribute to Mac Miller. And the hard part wasn't so much, I thought the tribute itself would be difficult. The hard part was seeing Thundercat not smiling, not being him. And then at the end when he needed like that just super long hug, that was hard. That was hard. That was hard to watch. I didn't record that reaction. I just watched that on my own because I figured I'd just cry like a baby. But you could tell, man. Watching Mac and Thundercat interact on the first one versus Thundercat without him, huge difference. Huge difference. So with all that said, I guess I don't really have a whole lot to say about the album, but I do want to say that Circles is coming very soon because I'm under the people have told me that Circles and Swimming and another album were supposed to be part of this trilogy. So Circles and you guys kind of call it Swimming in Circles. They go together. Apparently Circles is pretty tough to get through, and I want to hear that and not to like torture myself or hear him being tortured or anything like that. But I feel like with hearing this album and then knowing where it was before Mac passed, and then knowing that album was coming, then it eventually got released, I feel like it closes up that portion of his musical life. And I feel like there's a lot there that is going to be important to hear, and I do want to hear it. So, sometimes I talk about how, oh yeah, I want to get to another album by an artist soon, but I push it out a little bit. Like I'm finally getting to ATLiens this Friday from Outkast after saying how much I loved Cadillac music, and then it's been like 2 months or some shit. So Circles is going to be the first Friday of July, so it's basically 2 weeks out. It'll be ATLiens this Friday, Doris next Friday, and then Circles. And I just want to do that because I kind of feel like I'm left in suspension here. Like there's an important piece that is still missing from this experience of Mac Miller and where he is in terms of the musician, as a person, etc. So there you go. Overall, really enjoyed swimming. I can see why people have said, if you do a poll for Mac Miller, like I was talking about, don't put swimming on it because it'll just win. Which again seems to defeat the purpose of a poll, because the most voted one wins. So why not have the most voted one on there anyway? And I guess that's it. Kind of a shorter video. Another thing I did really like, and I said this during the reaction too, is that it's just such a cool, chill album. So it's nice to have one that exists in that category of just being chill, because we've got a lot of albums that exist in other areas. So this one, like basically every now and then I talk to my wife about how I like the Tool album Fair Inoculum, because it's metal, but it's not like metal, and so I feel like I can put it on when non-metal people are around and I can listen to it and get away with it. Swimming feels like a hip-hop album I can put on around people who don't like hip-hop, and they won't notice it and they'll be okay with it. It's like a stealth hip-hop album in a way. So that's one thing I really like too about this, is that I can sneak it in settings when people won't really pick up on what they're listening to, which is strange, right? It's strange. Like, I don't know. You either enjoy music or you don't, right? And if you enjoy something and then you find out it's hip hop and then you say, oh, well, I don't like it now. What's that about? Same thing with metal. Like if you're kind of into it and then you find out it's a metal group, oh, no. I don't like, what the hell is that about? Anyway, there you go. ATLiens is Friday. I'm excited, especially after revealing my #1 song from my top 10 tracks after the first year of hip-hop. It's going to be great to hear that one. And I guess that's it. We'll see you guys on Friday.